Hi, Bad Mouth listeners and community. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Kelly Grace Thomas, and I am a poet and an educator and an editor. I live in the Bay Area. I live in a town called Benicia, California. It's about 45 minutes outside of San Francisco and about 20 minutes away from Napa. I've worked most of my life as a writer and an educator. I am currently the director of education for a poetry nonprofit for youth called Get Lit in LA, where I used to live. And I also teach a lot of workshops on my own at kellygracethomas.com, teach a lot of like craft focused generative workshops. I really love talking strategy and technique when it comes to giving writers new tools, and I do some editing too. So that's a little bit about me. I live with my husband, Omid, and my daughter, Nova, and my sister, Kat. So I want to thank Rebecca for having me today, and I've prepared some poems to read for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The first set of poems I am going to be reading is from my book, which awkwardly I should have had in my hands, but I didn't. It's from my book, Boat Burned, which came out in 2020 with Yes Yes Books. It came out like 2 months before the pandemic hit. It was my debut. And yeah, it was an interesting launch. There was a lot of like really cool things because we were doing it over Zoom. So we weren't really inhibited by geography, which was great. And then, I snuck in some in-person events before everything happened in March, which was wonderful. You can find it at my website. You can buy a signed copy there if you're interested. And then the other two poems are two books that I am working on. And I should also say that at the young age of 41, I am going back to school to get my MFA, which I am just so excited about. I'm going to Randolph College. I was awarded a fellowship there, and just really, really exciting to continue my learning as an author and a poet. So thanks again to Rebecca, and here we go. First poem that I'm going to read is the title-ish poem to Boat Burn. And Boat Burn really looks at femininity and the female body and the experience of womanhood through the metaphor and extended metaphor throughout the book is boat. The woman is boat, and the lens or gaze on that changes and evolves as the speaker is changing and evolving. And this is the first one of the title-ish poem. Sorry, Burn the Boats. Because I believed somehow it was my fault. I never told anyone how my great-grandmother pinched the extra chub around my waist and asked, "Who will keep you now?" Pointed to every empty man not at our table. Told me I'm only as good as what I can please. Hunger, my only harbor. I carried this. A body full of broken boards and boundaries, and never told anyone how my first love dropped threats like an anchor. Warned me what would happen if I took on water. Sinking always slipped between his speech, and I believed being boarded equaled boat. So I floated for 7 years, subtracting what I had for another body, the parts of me that couldn't fit inside his hands. My first love never let me use his front door. Instead, gave me a dark portal to climb through. I only remember this. In bed, he would measure the circumference of my thighs and then beg for less. I became the smallest vessel I could steer. Every day he climbed through my story until I gathered enough distance to choose another name. I can't turn back. I strike a single match, burn myself brighter. The boats that built me smoke on shore. In the book, one of the things that happens is when I was 10, my family went bankrupt and my dad relocated from New Jersey and Florida. My parents were divorced at the time, but they were still really good friends. So my sister, mom, dad, and I spent 4 weeks sailing from New Jersey to Florida to say goodbye to my dad. And he stayed in Florida. We went back to New Jersey. And this is a book, the poem that's towards the end of the book, it's called Lifeboat. Don't worry. Your mother will always live inside the house you built for her. A sailboat can only wait so long for wind. When you run aground, the buoys nod a quiet, I know. Omid loves you. Anchor the children close at sunrise. You write about the morning after your sister almost died, then your mother. The many ways the sea tries to take, they say, tell me a story. And you never know the right way to spill. This is the one where you and your father tied yourselves to dark, sailed all night to Florida, holding only a memory of sleep. This was your biggest goodbye. Your legs still rock. Now in the mornings, you look at clouds you named together. How each of you chose your shape. And then the last poem that I'm going to read from Boat Barn is about my husband, Omid. Only thing you need to know is, one, that he is Persian. His parents are from Iran. And two, that we moved from LA to a suburb of San Francisco in the East Bay called Walnut Creek. And LA was super, super diverse, and Walnut Creek, not so much. This is called Small Things. The webs of Walnut Creek are all spun white. In our new town, I notice each grocery store glare. Sticky stares follow Omid down each aisle. Still, my love keeps quiet hands, wears kindness like salt and pepper stubble. I study him as he hums to houseplants. It's been hard for me to learn a love so gentle, to believe him when he chants me close, hushes, gorgeous, until I fall asleep. In the morning, he scrambles eggs, spatula in hand. He spots the lonely daddy long legs in a quiet corner, the wall weaver nestled next to light. He says, needing a home is such a small thing to be forgiven for. He lets the delicate geometry stay. I am slow to learn how to handle a living thing. I study Omid as he smiles at spiders. I ask him how. His speech soft as saffron breath, a net I lean against. He tells me he's been called a terrorist more times than he can count. His answer, save something smaller. The next few poems that I'm going to read 3 from a collection I just finished, in quotes, working on, called Future Tense. And it's really the story of mothers and daughters and the unexplained things that happen to our bodies, and the race against time and mortality and fertility and all of those things. So this first one I wrote after struggling with infertility for about a year. It was 3 years that I went through infertility before I'm still going through it, before we adopted our daughter Nova. And during the same time, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So heavy stuff. This is called Without Me. Everything hurts. Wildflowers on the freeway, beached kelp wild with wind, a sea otter drunk on a mother's warmth. This world keeps remaking itself without me. I oar alone. I stare at the horizon gray as oyster meat. There is no land or other side in sight. I drowned inside my tiny boat. I continue to sink. I continue to row. This next poem is called The Uterus Hangs on Every Wall. The world is salt and calcium, and my mother's brittle bones and her hand-me-down walker as she spills side effects, feet and fingers numb with neuropathy. And she can't hold anything steady. And the PET scan whispers tumor, and the doctors say stage 4. And my mom doesn't want pity and begs, don't tell. And I wonder if all bodies are a secret. There are so many bodies and bodies breaking, and hunger and hormones and infertility and our ocean of trying, and more doctors, more waiting rooms, more diagrams, and the uterus hangs on every wall. Mine, empty. Hers, cancer. At 70, she bleeds. At 39, I don't. And every day we lose count. Eggs rot. Red blood cells drain, death a door closer. And now she only speaks and falls, fears the grocery store and mopped floors. Every minute, dangerous. The wobble of balance, the kitchen sharper still. The last time she had chemo, her body seized, rejected the drugs, eyes rolled, machines soprano, nurses squeaked and sprint, and I wasn't there. I was somewhere trying to keep quiet, to keep it together. And she was almost gone so many times. And the secrets gain speed. And my hands fumble faith, and I'm not strong the way I thought. I beg the body, please, don't punish us both. And this, I wrote about just, there's a lot of global issues going on with fertility for so many reasons. That's like a whole TED talk that I should not give, but there's a lot of stuff if you look it up out there. I think stress is really one of the big things in the quality of food, but I wrote a poem thinking about that, and it has an epigraph. It says, an estimated 15% of couples will have trouble conceiving. UCLA Health 2020. This is called Nothing Roots. We trace a future we cannot birth. Maybe if it was only me, a no one bride of blood and blame, but bees are dying, birds are dropping, the ocean pregnant with plastic, the rodents returned each disease. We made a mess of family. Browning prayers plotted in thirsty fields, still nothing roots. Perhaps we've gotten used to how common dying feels in our speech. I want to grow something so soft, you swear it was snow. I can still feel the plastic gloves inside me, see myself sobbing to every nurse, hear the sea choking on our greed. Perhaps we have all starved our strangered mother. Asked her for a comfort she will no longer give. And I just want to read one. I'm going to read one or two more. My daughter has woken up from her nap, so I can hear her in the background. So I'll try for two and we'll see what happens. So because, all of that is really heavy, infertility and cancer, I started writing these animal fact poems where I would find an odd fact about animals, and then I would spend the poem exploring it. So this is called Crocodiles Lived Among the Dinosaurs. Imagine the quiet. After the asteroid or ice age where an entire species stopped calling back. Each valley, starved of stampede, ghosted by genius, melody of breath, stopped. The age of reptiles, gone. Scientists say that crocs swallow stones to stay submerged longer, to dive deeper, but survival has its price. Crocodiles weep when devouring their prey, an involuntary reaction. We call them crocodile tears, say cold-blooded. But maybe the body remorses what the mind tries to sink. Maybe each cell cries, carries its questions unanswered, like tiny mountains rumbling inside. And the last poem that I'll leave you with is a funner one. So this is called The Ring-Tailed Lemur That Smells the Worst is in charge of the entire group. During face-off, the male odors himself to victory, rubs himself sticky and pheromones from chest, cock, saturates tail in perfume, funk, crowns every stink to win the girl, lead the troop. He flicks, flaunts with his chatter of stench, tries to outrank, outreak until named king. And why shouldn't he be? Why not throne our own biology? How many years have we wasted on apology, the blush of excuse me, every fart, burp, the body's speech? What a triumph to roil your own musk. Thank you again so much for listening. Again, my name is Kelly Grace Thomas. I'm a poet, an educator, an editor. I am teaching lots of workshops in 2023. So if you're interested in any of them, please check them out at kellygracethomas.com. And I hope that our poetry paths cross in person soon. Thank you again, Rebecca. Happy holidays, everyone.